All right, guys, here we go. Next set of notes that we got, as you can see, going to be going today into maybe direction you saw coming, maybe not, but we're going to talk a little bit more about college or career, just kind of talk about some of the pros and cons to each side going in one direction or the other after you graduate high school, as some of you will be doing very, very soon. Some of you may have to wait a little bit longer, but looking at both of these, both options very good. They both have their pros, both have their cons. Used to be a long time ago that we thought you had to go to college to be successful. Those of us that were kind of the first wave of that are starting to find out, as I'm sure you know, it's beneficial sometimes, it's not beneficial all the time. So we're going to talk about some of those. We're going to talk about some things to watch out for and some things to think about when you go through making that decision. So getting started with it, looking at the differences. You go to college, obviously, you're going to be staying in school. You're not going to be working, so you're not going to be making as much money during that time. You are going to have loans you are going to have to repay, so obviously that's going to be an issue. And then the other flip side of it, you go into the workforce, you start making a lot more money than you would if you go to college. You're going to start making that money right away, that salary right away, and getting used to that living. It can limit your opportunities, but you just have to understand what you're going for when making this decision. So if you're going into the workforce, we're going to start there. You got to decide on a couple of things. One, where are you going to live? What do you want to do? Where are you going to live? Depending on what you want to do, that may limit some of the states you want to go to. That may not limit some of the states you want to go to. Obviously, when you're going into the workforce, have an idea of what your ultimate goal is. Is there upward mobility? Can you get promoted, get paid more? If it's a job that you're generally just going to be getting paid the same amount for the entire life of it, it's probably not a very good one to go with. Generally, most of your careers that are good trades will have opportunities to make more money by either doing more work or specializing in certain kinds of work. So, just thinking about those when you're going into the workforce and choosing that job and where you're going to live, because it's not going to be so easy generally to move once you've got that job, unless that job is going to require you to move. Now, make sure you understand what jobs need a college degree and what don't, because you aren't going to have one if you're going to go into the workforce right away after high school. So understand that some of those jobs that look really nice may look really nice because somebody's got a college degree and they're getting a little bit more money for it. Don't let that discourage you, though, because remember, people with college degrees generally are going to have that added monthly payment, which, as you've seen in Mimic, can definitely change how much money you're going to end up making. And, it's nice to make $2,000 more than your buddy, but if he's paying $250 a month, or if that person that's making more is having to pay $250 a month, that actually ends up making less money over the course of that year. So, as we go forward with looking at our workforce, we'll look at the pros and cons of both. And with that, the pros, obviously, like we said, you're going to start making money. You're going to live on your own. You're going to be able to kind of have a little bit more freedom than you would if you necessarily went to college. Having the benefits, such as insurance and retirement. We've talked about retirement. We've talked about insurance. You don't get those going to college. Now, you can get a retirement account and you can get health insurance, but you have to pay for it. And when you have a full-time job that helps you pay for it, it makes it a lot easier to afford. And definitely, like we've said and we've noticed, things that can be beneficial to have as we go throughout our daily lives. Not going to have the loans, and then you're going to be gaining experience in those interpersonal skills, those working with people skills, much earlier than the college counterparts. Yes, you'll have things in college that you'll go to and you'll do job shadowing and have group projects, but nothing really prepares you for actually going out into the workforce and working with other people, dealing with problem solving, like actually just doing it. So looking at the cons of it, like you said, you won't generally be able to make as much over the course of your life. Now, that's not always the case. There are plenty of trades that make a lot more money than most professionals with college degrees do. You've just got to decide which ones are for you. A couple of them, just to list them off the top, if you look at people into welding, people into plumbing, a lot of those essential services that everybody needs to have, those people get paid. So definitely things to think about if you're looking at going into the workforce. And then, like we said, the cons, just finishing them out. You have to decide your career earlier in life. It's not really easy to switch careers, especially if you don't have that college degree. And, you have those responsibilities. When you're in college, you don't necessarily have all of the bills. Yes, you'll have that loan you'll have to repay afterwards, but you don't have the responsibilities like an electric bill, a water bill, having to get the rent or the mortgage paid, whatever it is that your living situation is. Now you can have those in college as well, but not generally going to be as much. So that's going to do it for looking at the workforce. Now, if we're going to look at going to college, now most of us are told going to college is the way to go. Now, again, that very well could be the case for you. It's not always the case, though, for everybody. So if you've got a trade that you're looking at and it's got a great career path, definitely go for it. I know we have some students who have parents who have those businesses that they own that are those trades, and I'm sure they can tell you it's not a bad life. You've just got to love the job that you're doing. So looking at college now, if you're going to college, again, it's the same kinds of questions. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to live? The good thing about college is you kind of get to go and test a place out for a little bit. And then if you want to stay there, you can. If you want to leave after you graduate college, you can do that. You're not tied to that city. So, I always will say, if you are going to college, I will always recommend going somewhere you don't live. Now, I'm not saying if you want to go to College of Charleston or CSU that that's a bad thing. Those are great schools. But I definitely think there is something about going and learning about some other people that are in the U.S., about what other kinds of lives there are in the nation. I'll tell you, living in the Midwest, life in the Midwest is a lot different than it is here in Charleston. And life in New York is much different than it is in Charleston. It's just good to kind of learn about it and learn kind of where people come from. So when you've got that idea of where you want to go, generally it's going to be because of the school that you want to go to. You want to make sure you have that school in mind, and more importantly, that school's got your major. If the school doesn't have your major, it's not a place that you should go. So your major should really drive a lot of where you're going to school because that's what you're getting out of it. So if your major is not offered at the school you're going to, I'm going to be honest, your undergraduate degree does not really differentiate very much. Yes, a degree from Harvard is very impressive, but a master's from Harvard or a doctorate from Harvard is much more impressive than an undergraduate. So if you've got an undergraduate from College of Charleston or Trident or University of Oregon, generally they're all going to be looked at the same. So make sure it's got your major and make sure it's somewhere you want to go to live. Make sure the cost is something you can deal with, and then the student population is something you can deal with. Some of us can handle being one fish in a pond of, 40,000 students. Some of us can't. Some of us want to be one fish in a pond of 5,000 students. There are tons of different size schools in America, so just make sure you're picking the one that you feel best suits you. And again, it's all up to you. It's which one that makes you feel most comfortable. And then any other factors that are important that you should consider. Do you want to join a fraternity or sorority? Not all schools have them. So make sure that you're checking out the schools to see if that is exactly what you want. And again, make sure the decisions are best for you. I put that in just because in recruiting, plenty of recruits that I've talked to over the years have chosen schools not based on what their interests are, but maybe based on what a high school sweetheart's interests are. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to marry the person that you're dating in high school, but what I will say is you should generally not use them to decide where you're going to college. College is going to really impact the rest of your life. And while that relationship may as well, it's definitely just something that you should not let be your guiding force. So looking at the pros for college, again, the responsibilities and the bills, not there. So there's not as much stress. You can keep doing something you really enjoy. You get to find out if it's something you really enjoy, because as you're going through your classes, you may find out you don't want to be a doctor because you don't want to deal with the disgusting side of having to be a doctor and having to see some of the uglier sides of the profession, and not in a evil way, but again, just the literally uglier sides of that profession. So there are a lot of things that you'll find out as you're going through your college journey that may change the direction that you think you're going to be headed. Obviously, you can make more money when you get out most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time you can. And you get to just kind of become a more well-rounded person, getting to kind of see all of the different people that are out there. So the cons, there are cons. It does cost money, and it costs a lot of money. And that cost does go up as you go. I'm going to tell you, don't expect to be paying the same price all 4 years. It doesn't lock in like a contract. If they want to decide that cost and that tuition is going to go up, and they will, then that tuition is going to go up, and you're going to have to deal with that. So just understand that. Most of the time, that's going to mean more in loans. Now, if you've got a ton of money stashed away or you've got somebody paying for it, that's not as much of an issue. But most of us don't have $100,000 sitting around waiting to get used for us to go to college. You can't really save the money during college because you don't really have a lot of time to make it. You don't have a lot of time to work. And generally, if you're working, it's because you're probably having to pay rent for an apartment that you're sharing with some people, or you just need a little bit of money for groceries or something like that. So you generally don't have the ability to be putting money away in college. Now, if you do, awesome, do it. But most people just do not. It's very hard to. And your degree doesn't always help you when you get out. Make sure you have a plan for your degree. If it's a degree in psychology, make sure you know what you're going to do with that. That's the most common degree that you see as kind of the butt end of the joke of, hey, what are you going to do with that? But if you have a plan for your degree and what field you're going to use it in, it's definitely one that you can do. But again, for me, it was easy. When you're an education major, there's only one thing you're going to do with that. So if I was going to go into anything but teaching, I'm wasting my time. But I go into teaching, so obviously not a waste of time. And then having that student loan payment every month can definitely inhibit your ability to save after you get out. So understand that while it's hard to make money while you're in college, you then may find out it's a little harder to make money when you get out as well, because you've got that student loan payment on top of all those other bills that we've talked about. So just a couple of last things. First off, college, not for everyone. Like I've said, there are trades that make more money. And I'm going to tell you, not having that student loan payment is a huge blessing for those people that go into those trades, because not only do they make comparable money, but not having that payment every month like we've talked about is definitely helpful. My biggest piece of advice throughout this whole thing, do not take a semester off. And I'm going to tell you there are plenty of people who have done it and can do it just fine. But during that semester off, you're generally going to be making money because you're going to be working full time. If you're not working full time and you are backpacking Europe, okay, that's good, but you got to have money saved up for that. And then you've got to understand that you are using that money for something which is an experience, which is not a bad experience, but again, is an experience and is going to set you back when you come back into quote unquote, the real world. It's very hard to take a semester off and then say, okay, I'm not going to make this full-time money anymore and I'm going to go back to class, because generally the reason you're taking a semester off is because, let's be honest, you don't like class and you don't like school, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if your intention is to keep going through that ill will towards school, then I would not try taking a semester off and going, you know what, I didn't like that thing before, but now that I've taken a break from it, I think I'll go back. It's very hard to do that. So my biggest advice is, if you're going to college, go right into college, because it's very hard to shift off of school life and then turn back on. And then one of the worst things you can do is to get loans and not finish school. Understand, you do have to pay back those loans if you do not finish college. Whether you get a graduate degree or you get anything out of that time or not, they don't care. They gave you the money to go to school. You went to school, supposedly. Even if you didn't, it doesn't matter. But they want their money back, and they will come after you and they will get their money back. So do not take loans out and then not finish school. That is basically the biggest way you can screw your life, by going forward and getting that student loan debt, not getting the degree out of it, and then having to get a job either through a trade or something with this debt that you shouldn't have because you never even got anything out of it in the first place. If you do plan on doing that, like it says, instead of throwing the money away and getting someone to loan you money, just pay me a small payment every month. I will gladly take it. Now, that's going to bring us to the assignment for today. You've got two scenarios here. I will put them in the assignment as well when I post it in Google Classroom. But you've got two prompts, two scenarios, 8 sentences apiece for them. And for this one, you've got 2 questions for number 1. You enter the workforce after high school. What are 2 possible careers you'd want, 2 jobs you would want to do? Where do you think you would live? And would you live with yourself or with another person or another group of people? Again, 8 sentences. You can make them 8 sentences as you like, addressing, as long as you answer those questions, we're good to go. If you don't have the 8 sentences done when you've answered those questions, talk a little bit more about the careers, why you would pick them, or maybe what entices you about them. And then for number 2, you're going to college instead. And now if you're going into college, looking into that, what are 2 possible schools you'd like to go to, 2 possible majors. You don't have to do 2 per school. You just do 2 majors you would look at. And then 3 of the most important factors for you when deciding your college and why. So again, those factors are not universal. They are going to be your factors and the ones that you decide. So with that, just what are the 3 most important things to you when deciding your college? It doesn't have to be, again, for the 2 schools you looked at, just overall. And then if you're looking for more sentences there, why you picked the schools you did, why you like the majors you did, or maybe what you plan to do with them after you get out. Now, we do have some exciting news today. We do have a way to play a fun game that we all know and love, and that is our fun game called Life Happens. So we're going to switch on over right now, and there we go, getting into, almost had it for you for a second. Get us over to our Mimic Personal Finance for today, and let's get Life Happens rolling. Now, we're going to do this for each of the classes. So we are at Wednesday, so we're going to get 9 people from first class, and we'll get 12 from period 2. So with that, remember, Life Happens still going. Mimic's still going. There are sim scores now that have come out, sim score 4, and there's a performance review that I will be updating you with how we'll be getting the grades for that. But let me just kind of see what this one looks like. Let's try to move this a little bit, make it a little easier to see. There we go. Start a new game. Yes. All right. So first class. First person up. Oh, Christopher. Christopher is here. Shopping is fun. Look at that. Shopping is fun. Now let me see if I can. What are we looking at here? Okay. So with that, shopping is fun. No redraws for you. So $200 out of your checking account for that one. Second one up. Dylan Parker. Loser buys. $80 out of your checking account for that one. No redraw, so we go to the next one. Number 3, Tank. Pests are out of control. $40 added to your monthly budget. Now, I will redraw in the $500 or less. In all honesty, this is not going to end up being $500 by the time we are done with class, so I'm going to let this one go, Tank. Save that for you in case you get a big one. Number 4 today, Abigail. $400 out of your checking account for a new washer. Then Sam, you're up next. Season tickets, $85 for selling the season tickets there, added to the checking account. Number 6, Jaqueline. Jaqueline getting $150 for that one, and that was number 6. We got 3 more for period 1 today. Cade coming in. Bear market stocks for the class just dropped 10%. And again, not going to be a more than $500 cost for you, so we'll let that one go. The stock's going to take a little bit of a hit for that. Tyler getting in at number 8 for this one. Family vacation, $1,000. No redraw, Tyler. That one going to hurt, but hey, you're going to Uzbekistan, so it's all right. And then last one for today, that guy getting the same thing that Sam got, $85 there. So that's it for period 1. Let's go to period 2 for the Life Happens game for this one. And we will get started. Let's make sure everything's looking good there. Oh, I apologize there, period 1, you guys didn't get a chance to see any of your names, but we'll get that fixed for the next episode of Life Happens. Don't worry. Now we got 12 people to get today. D'Angelo, number 1, shop around and save. $300 to your account. We'll keep that. Eric, side hustle, $250 added to the monthly income. Not a bad one to go with. Corbin, no longer with us, but adding $50 to his monthly budget. Sounded a lot worse than it is. I hope Corbin's doing well. If he ever gets a chance to see this, if you guys still talk to him, tell him we said hi. We miss him. Number 4 today, Andrew, date night at Medieval Times, $200, no redraw for that. Next one up, this kid, ceiling fan repairs, $250, taken out of that one. Tyler, feed the hungry, $250 out of your account for a number 6 today. Josie in at number 7, family vacation, $1,000, but you've got a redraw, so we will redraw since that is more than 500. The joy of giving, $500, cutting that one in half, definitely a win there. Number 8 today, Noah, someone called plumber, $400 for the plumber for that one. No redraw, but it's a little below 500. Kaylee, you are up for number 9. And Kaylee winning 3rd place in the hot dog eating contest in Houston, $50 there. 3 more for today. Sylvia getting in, man's best friend, $30 added to your monthly budget. Again, that one not even going to be over $500 by the time it's all said and done. So congrats, you've got a dog. It's going to be a fun one. You get to name it. Let us know what the name is, and we'll make it the class pet. Terrence up here, $100 added to your checking account, no redraw. And the last person for today, Kane, 1 millionth customer, $200, not going to use the redraw for that. And with that, that's going to bring us to the end of the notes for today. So make sure you get the attendance form filled out. Make sure you get the prompts turned in. They are due by tomorrow at, we'll say, 3:30 in the afternoon. So if you have any questions, send me an email. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow.